is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. And welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly-ish movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, including our other podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. And you can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And sponsor for this week, once again, is Horror Movie Yearbook, a horror movie podcast that takes a few different horror movies from the same release year and reviews them and contextualizes them with the year of releases, pop culture, and current events of the year. You can find them at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at horrormovieyearbook.com. And thank you once again to Horror Movie Yearbook and to the Midwest Podcast Network for sponsoring our podcast here. So, Tiny.
Yeah,
how's it going?
Pretty good. No complaints.
Good, very good. We've kind of had a bit of a hiatus, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be a fair word.
Yeah, just, life, man.
Right, life finds a way.
To not record podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just, I do apologize for both the listeners here and listeners of Anthology and Tower Junkies. I had to think about what the podcast was called.
What's that other podcast called that we do?
I do apologize, guys, because it's just been crazy busy with, regular real life stuff. Oh my god, I'm yawning. This is how out of practice I am. I'm yawning. Okay, so yeah, it's just been crazy busy and stuff. So anyway, today on the podcast, we're going to be reviewing Ready Player One, the latest Steven Spielberg movie, adapted from Ernest Cline's novel of the same name. And we will talk about that shortly. But first, we have some news to go through, briefly. Tiny, two things I have on the docket. The first one probably won't necessitate much conversation, but or won't bring out much conversation, but it was announced that Bruce Willis is going to have a celebrity roast on Comedy Central. Huh. So, two questions. One, where do you land with like Comedy Central roasts nowadays? Like, they were pretty big a while ago, but they're not really in the zeitgeist right now.
Yeah, they kind of fell out of favor, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why. I enjoy them quite a bit because I like the shock humor, Mm-hmm. So I have a certain I relish them to a degree. Mm-hmm. But I can't say I'm especially excited about Bruce Willis's roast. It's kind of an odd choice.
It is.
Because he's famous for being talented. I feel like you roast somebody who kind of sucks.
Sure.
Or, not necessarily. It's just like you kind of like, I think of the roasts that I've seen over the years, like they roasted Trump and Pamela Anderson and Flavor Flav, and it's like they're all famous for being kind of ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I don't see Bruce Willis in that way.
I can definitely understand that. Also,
like he's a talented actor. I mean,
yeah. Also, I just think it's funny that your examples, it's just like they're famous for being ridiculous, and one of them's the leader of the free world.
Yeah, he is.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, and also I kind of feel like I don't know Bruce Willis. Don't know Bruno. Okay. First of all, is Bruno short for Bruce? Is that like a nickname that's common?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, because I've heard people refer to him as Bruno, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. You might be right. I don't know.
I always thought so. But anyway, if anyone knows, let us know. But,
yeah. If only there were a way we could like look it up ourselves.
Yeah, I don't
if there were like an encyclopedia machine.
No, I don't. I wanted to tweet this today, but I didn't want it to sound ridiculous, or I couldn't figure out the wording to make it not sound as ridiculous. But the tweet was going to be something like, surprisingly, it wasn't podcasts that made him world renowned and rich beyond his wildest dreams. It was when Matt created Whiskerpedia, the Wikipedia for cats, that brought his fortune.
Oh my god.
So anyway,
wow.
that would have been worded really well. I might actually tweet that tomorrow.
Actually, Wikipedia is like a not-for-profit organization. It's like the guy who invented Wikipedia is not a millionaire or anything.
Oh shit, well, there goes that.
So
I guess I'm not gonna.
Really glad you didn't tweet that.
Yeah.
You would look like such an idiot now.
I would look like an idiot who could only get Pizza Dad on his bowling ball and not Pizza Daddy.
Oh my god.
Anyway, Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, Bruce Willis. I mean, granted, I don't. Honestly, I don't know him, but I don't like. I mean, I know him from his iconic roles and everything, but like recently, the most recent thing I can think of pertaining to him really is the whole Kevin Smith thing, where Kevin Smith was talking about how much of a pain he was to work with,
right?
And kind of that back and forth. But I kind of get the impression that I don't really know if Bruce Willis has that as much of a sense of humor about himself,
right,
as some of the other people.
That's true.
That have been roasted
which could make it interesting.
Yeah, true.
But whatever.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've never really been into the roasts, to be honest. The earlier ones of this, or I guess not necessarily earlier ones, but when these recent ones were getting big enough, like when they first started, I was kind of into them, but I've never really sat. I think it was around like when they did one for Steve-O, I think. I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
The Bob Saget one was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the Bob Saget one.
It was classic.
Yeah. But again, like Bob Saget, he's a person that's made his entire career based around how opposite his sense of humor is to what he's most known for.
Right.
So
yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know when that's gonna air, but I don't know if we'll watch it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it. And then to round out news for this episode, the trailer was released for the movie The Meg.
Yes, it was.
Yes, starring Jason Statham and a big ass shark. Tiny, what'd you think of the trailer?
It looks like, popcorn trash.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think in a good way. Like, I think I'm going to watch it and be like, oh my God, they did that. Yeah, I mean, any trailer any movie where you have Jason Statham talking about like science, like, good God, it's a megalodon. Like, really? How does he know what a megalodon is? I don't know. It's just, I think it looks like fun.
Yeah, it does. It does look like fun. Patreon subscriber Robert, he posted it on the Facebook group, which you can go to at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. The Meg does look like it'll be pretty fun. I agree. Jason Statham as a scientist, presumably, is kind of hilarious casting, and those types of movies that are clearly just popcorn, fun, stupid action movies. Those are what I'm kind of all about. So I'm looking forward to that. Rainn Wilson looks like he's going to be fun in it as the comic relief. And I just remembered something, another piece of news to bring up. So that's the Meg trailer. I'll put the link in the show notes and everything. Tiny, to round out news officially. Did you hear about T.J. Miller?
T.J. Miller? No.
Okay, well, strap in, because this is going to be interesting. So, as you know, he left Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
Yes. And apparently it was like there's said to be a mutual thing, but I think the rumor is that he was, difficult to work with and everything.
Okay.
And apparently, I haven't seen the latest season, but apparently the writers are working really hard to just trash him and his character.
Really?
Yeah, like I guess there's it would go into spoilers to say what I heard, but apparently it's not like a secret that the writers are bitter about it.
Huh.
Yeah, but he where to begin? Monday night, we're recording this on Tuesday. Monday night he was arrested for a fake bomb threat that he made on a train.
Damn.
Or a fake bomb accusation. The story goes that back in March, he was on a train. He called 911 and said that there was a woman with like brown hair and a black scarf that was eyeing her purse very suspiciously.
Okay.
And he thought that she had a bomb and that she was going to kill everyone. And then I guess an investigator called him back after he called 911, and he gave a completely different description. And then it turned out that he wasn't even on the same train as the one that he was calling about. It's all very confusing. And like it's alleged that, or investigators suspect that he was inebriated. Which, I mean, I've been drunk in my day.
Yeah.
Never drunk enough to, fake a bomb.
Calling a bomb threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, so it's very weird. Like he was arraigned yesterday or last night, or maybe this morning, I don't know, but released on a $100,000 bail or bond.
Jeez.
Yeah. And if convicted, he could face like the maximum for that particular crime is 5 years in prison.
Jeez.
Yeah, which he's a celebrity. I don't know if that'll happen, but
right.
Like that's the maximum that he's facing. It's just like, what the hell? Like,
damn.
Like I was sitting. Oh, okay, so I went on my lunch break today, and I was like browsing the internet, and I was like, oh, T.J. Miller, clicked it, and it's like, this is not what I was expecting to read today at all.
Right.
It's very weird. Very weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. So, and like he's a weird guy. He's a very weird guy.
Yeah.
And it's funny for the most part, but like reading that, I kept thinking like okay, one of the anecdotes that I like about like showbiz and everything is how he had how he got the role on was it Yogi Bear as the park ranger, because he sent in an audition tape with him in a park ranger uniform talking to an actual bear at the zoo.
I've seen it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then he has a bit that he did on like Conan or something where I think it was him, where he was talking about how he got his driver's license photo.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's ridiculous. And like he went through like, it's this goofy face, but he had to like use the goofy face like throughout the entire day when he was at the BMV or something, to make it legit. But like those isolated are funny, but like reading this now, it's like, maybe this isn't like just for comedy. Maybe there's something like really fucked up with them.
Oh man.
So it's kind of weird. It's just a weird piece of news, but
totally.
Yeah. So hopefully it works out for him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I hope so.
Yep. But anyway, yeah, so that's news for this week. And yeah, Tiny, I guess we're going to dive right into our review then.
Yes.
Of Ready Player One. Now, have you read the book?
Oh, I read the fuck out of it.
Okay, nice. When did you read it?
About 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
3-4 years ago, yeah.
Damn, that's
interesting.
It
is phenomenal.
Nice. Do you remember much about it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
I do.
I haven't read it. I've said for the last probably 4 years that I would read it before the movie came out, but also said I'd release some podcasts. But
yeah, I read it on the recommendation of our co-host Mike.
Oh, Mikey!
I think it's one of his favorites.
It is, yeah. By the way, Mike's band, As Good As It Gets, just released a new song called "Back at You," which is really great, and the video is adorable. So check that out at. Just Google As Good As It Gets band and look them up on Facebook and everything. I'll put links in the show notes. So anyway, Yeah, so I know that he was a huge fan of Ready Player One, and I was very intrigued by it. But I didn't get around to reading it, which I'm kind of glad because I used to be one of those guys that had to read the book before the movie, and just because 99% of the time the book is better than the movie. But I'm kind of feeling it more that I'm feeling myself sway more toward watch the movie first so that you can get that, so that their interpretation of the story can surprise you. So I'm not like sitting there for 2 hours thinking like, oh, that's different from the book. That's different from the book. That's different from the book. But yeah, so anyway, I'm glad that I didn't read it before I saw it. Now, Tiny, you saw it with friend of the show, Matt and Draco.
Sure did.
How'd that go?
It was good. It was good.
Nice.
It's also one of Matt's favorites.
It is. Yes, he's. I've been talking to him quite a bit over the last several months. He was very worried. He was very worried, and when he messaged me after he saw it, I made sure to say that I was glad that they didn't Dark Tower it for him.
Yeah.
Because he liked it.
Right. That they did not. So.
Yeah. So I unfortunately I couldn't go with you guys. So sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah. Well, I saw A Quiet Place instead. So.
By the W.
Yes.
We saw. I hope I'm not jumping the gun here, but we saw it at the Brownsburg movie theater.
Yes.
That might become my go-to because
really?
A matinee was $6.
Oh, nice.
I feel like even if you go to like Trader's Point or whatever, a matinee is still like 10, $9.50, $10. Yeah, so it's like I'm cheap, and that's nice.
Yeah, and that's I don't remember what it's called. Like, what's the company is?
Oh yeah, it's
something like Goodrich.
Goodrich, I believe.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've been to that theater once. I saw what was that movie called with Liam
Blended.
Neeson?
We saw Blended there.
Did we? Oh, we did see Blended.
Yeah.
We saw Blended there, and then I saw Nonstop there.
Yeesh.
I think it was Nonstop. Liam Neeson on a train.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you know it's a nice theater. I'm kind of sold by. I've been seeing it. Been seeing movies at Southern Plaza on the south side of Indy, and really that and Trader's Point are my go-to because they're AMC theaters, and I have the stubs.
Right.
Which when I saw Ready Player One, I got there early and I was able to use some of my stubs rewards for a free soft drink.
That's nice.
Yes, it was good.
Very nice.
Very good.
Anyways, I just thought that was mentionable.
Anyway, nice. That's cool. Let's see. Do they have reserved seats?
Geez, no.
Oh, okay. Do they have reclining seats?
No.
Oh, yeah. I'm never going there. I literally. I can't go to the theater that doesn't have reserved seating and reclining seats anymore.
Right,
it's just
right.
It's too good.
But you can save $3.50.
Or I could be comfortable in the seat that I really like.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, did I tell you about? I don't remember if I said this on the podcast. Did I tell you about going to Keystone Art months ago? I went and saw Call Me by Your Name.
Okay.
And like you'll remember this. Keystone Art was like my favorite theater in the city.
Right.
For many years. Like it has a nice bar, it has a good atmosphere, it plays kind of art house movies that don't get wide releases and everything, and they do midnight screenings, all great stuff. And this is years ago, I would think, oh man, these seats are like the most comfortable seats at theater seats in Indy.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since like Regal and AMC upgraded their reclined seats, like when I saw Call Me by Your Name, I was uncomfortable the entire time.
Wow.
Because the seat was so like it was not comfortable anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was. So even that, like I can't. It's not my favorite theater anymore.
Yeah. It's a bummer.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough talking about movie theaters in Indianapolis.
I know, right?
So, what were your expectations going into Ready Player One?
I feel like the book is kind of like an epic book. It's Yeah, it's like this whole universe, and it's it's I don't know, it feels very epic to me, the book, and so I was like, man, that's going to be very difficult to capture in a movie, and there's like a pretty solid timeline in the book that's a handful of months long, and there's all this licensing that has to happen because there's so many references to 80s franchises and licenses and whatever, all that business stuff. And I was like, there's no way they're going to be able to pull that off. How are they going to get around that? What are they going to do? And I almost had like, when they're talking about making the movie, I had like kind of almost low expectations because I was like, I just don't think they're going to be able to pull it off because the book's so great. And then I was like, and then they got Steven Spielberg, and I was like, okay, this needs to be really good then if it's Steven Spielberg. I remember there were rumors that Christopher Nolan was going to do it, and I was like, oh my God, that would have been incredible.
That would have been interesting.
I don't know if he would have been a good fit for it because, again, there is so much licensing, and you kind of have to CGI a lot of this. You can't really, and he likes his practical effects, so I don't know if it would have been a good fit for him necessarily.
Also, tonally, it kind of seems like something that wouldn't really fit his sensibilities as a filmmaker in his sensibilities as storyteller, really.
Right.
Because I mean, he hasn't done anything that's as arguably, I don't know if I want to say lighthearted, because I don't know if that's really the correct term. Yeah. But something that is as fun as Ready Player One is. Right. And like that's as much fun spectacle.
Okay. Yeah. True. So once all the news came out about it and it was getting ready to release, I had kind of moderately high expectations for it. I was like, this is Spielberg. This is based on a great book. They need to bring it for this. So I had kind of moderately high expectations.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
How about you?
Honestly, I had been saying for years that I would read the book, but I never did. And then, so like kind of in the lead up to it, I kind of felt like I was excited about it because I didn't know anything about it, really any specifics. And like the trailers were interesting to me just from pure spectacle, and everything. And I was intrigued by it because like I love pop culture and everything. So it seemed like it would be really interesting to me. But it's like, the more I saw the trailers, the more I was just like, okay, well, it looks like it'll be fun, but it wasn't like at the top of my most anticipated list or anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's I was excited for it, and I was excited for like Matt and for fans of the book to see it. And I was cautiously excited for them because I know what it's like to have something you cherish destroyed in a movie. So I mean, I was kind of, I had moderate expectations for it.
Gotcha.
And I ended up seeing it at Traders Point, like I said, and it was a Sunday kind of matinee, because like, the reason I didn't go with you guys is because I had plans to go see A Quiet Place, and then, oh, that's another thing. That's the interesting thing. So, we had one of our listeners on the Facebook group, Biz, requested that we do a review of it, with one person that has read the book and one that hasn't. And like, I was like, okay, well, yeah, we should definitely do that, obviously. And this was like last week. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll have to check it out sometime during the week, Right. So like like my friend who I see movies with, I was like, hey, do you want to go see Ready Player One sometime this week? And she was like, well, yeah, let me know the times and everything. So I looked up the times, and throughout the week, there was one 2D screening every day at the theater. and that was at 9 p.m. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I'm not going to go to a 2.5-hour movie at 9 p.m. on a work night. And I was so annoyed because all the other screenings were either digital IMAX or digital IMAX 3D or Real D 3D.
Yeah.
And then like no 2D, like hardly any 2D offerings. And so it was really annoying to me. So I was just like, I scrapped the plans to see it with my friend, and I just went and saw it Sunday by myself, like a chump.
Yeah. But you made the adult decision, though.
Yes, exactly. I did not bend to the will of 3D and IMAX screenings. Although, I mean, it would have looked pretty badass in IMAX, I'm sure.
Yeah, it would have.
But did you see it regular 2D?
Yeah, 2D.
Okay. Yeah. And what was your theater like? Did you have like was there a lot of people?
It was more than half full. It was
nice.
Moderately full. I saw like a matinee 4 p.m. showing on Saturday, so.
Nice.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I didn't think there'd be that many people there.
Nice. Where'd you guys go to eat afterwards?
We didn't. Paige and I had some dinner plans, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. My theater was probably a little bit over halfway full. I'm going to come across like a dick when I say this, but I thought it was funny because like the people in the row in front of me, first of all, I went alone, and like my row was like filled up. So I felt I had that like kind of somewhat slightly uncomfortable feeling where I'm like surrounded by strangers since I was like there by myself. Because usually I like to have like buffer seats and everything, but it felt like very not awkward, but just felt I hadn't experienced that in a while. And then also the people in the row in front of me, like they were so confused about what seats they were in and like what seats their reserved seats were, and I'm like, how, like, and I know I do this like every week. I go see a movie almost every week, and I see movies very frequently.
Yeah.
In like the new age of reserved seats at major chain theaters, but I'm like, literally, how hard is it to figure that out? Like it was fascinating because like they were really struggling with it, and I'm like, it's on the ticket, like it says it right there,
right?
Like they were confusing the seat number with the theater number.
Oh my god!
And it was like it was weird. It was like
it's a grid system. It's not hard,
right?
Jeez.
And I just thought this is so inside baseball, but it was like watching the managers of my complex trying to figure out their seats.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah. Wait, what?
I said reference.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, that was the kind of experience going into it, and yeah, I guess we can kind of go into our review. Do you have the IMDb page pulled up?
I do.
Okay, can you read the plot description courtesy of IMDb, Tiny?
I would love to.
And while he's pulling that up, of course, we're going to do a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review. So when we switch over to spoilers, we will give you ample warning. So Tiny, plot description courtesy of IMDb, go.
When the creator of a virtual reality world called the Oasis dies, he releases a video in which he challenges all Oasis users to find his Easter egg, which will give the finder his fortune.
Yes, and this stars Ty Sheridan.
Correct.
And Olivia Cook.
Yes.
And who would be third? Were those the first two billings?
Yes, they were.
Really? Oh, I wonder who the third billing is. Oh my God! What is his name? Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, look at you. You're on a roll.
Yes, and that's all I'm going to do.
Okay.
Who's fourth billing?
Lena Waithe.
Oh, okay, that's who I was probably going to pick. That's kind of a fun game. We should.
That is, yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm impressed. I wouldn't have gotten that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that is the plot description and everything.
Yeesh.
So how did you feel about the movie? Kind of in broad terms, I think maybe we should keep some of the pop culture references kind of out of the non-spoiler discussion, just in case people want to go into it without knowing like what to expect is popping up, and then we'll dive deeper into it in spoilers. But in broad terms, what did you think of Ready Player One?
In broad terms, the book was much better, so we'll see you guys later. No, yeah, of course the book was better. But that's all pretty much a given. I ended up enjoying the movie a lot. It met my expectations, but just kind of barely. Like it was dangerously close to not getting there. I just I think some of the downfalls of it were that like there was hardly anybody famous in the movie, and anyone who was famous was barely in it. And that's such an odd thing to say because it's like who cares? All that matters is the performances, and I think the performances were just okay. So I think that kind of had a bearing on it. I think some of the characters weren't quite as well rounded, and there was a faster timeline than in the book, and stuff like that kind of took away from the charm of the story that I was used to in the book. So it didn't ruin the movie, and I understand there's time constraints you have to worry about, and it's harder to cram a big story like that in a whole universe that you have to create into a 2.5 hour movie. So there's those challenges, and I think they met the challenges pretty well. I think this is probably one of the best interpretations we could have gotten of the book, and I'm not sure how it could have been too much better. So I ended up enjoying it quite a bit, but not without its criticisms.
I see.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I actually think that I might be a little more favorable. I enjoyed it. I think I liked it a little bit more than it sounds like you did, although I do share a bit of your criticisms with it seems like, or your critiques with it. I thought that it was a very interesting story. I thought that the kind of world building, like the idea of like an overpopulated world with this virtual reality oasis universe in it was very interesting and intriguing to me. Just I think that the idea of this kind of video game world that's depicted in that way is something that's actually kind of not that far-fetched. Like I could see that, honestly, I would love that. I mean, it would be kind of freaking amazing. But, so I thought the world building was really cool. The way that it mixed in so many different and unique pop culture references, was very interesting and kind of kept me. It definitely scratched that kind of nerdy itch that I have when I watch movies like that. However, I thought that the overall spectacle and the special effects and the kind of the spectacle of it, the excitement of the story and everything, is what kind of overshadowed the actual story and characterization for me. If it wasn't as visually appealing and interesting to me, I would have been a little bit not distracted, but a little bit bored by the story because I wasn't as emotionally invested in the story or the characters as I would have been, or as I feel like I should have been. But the really, the really at times over the top, but in a good way, spectacle and action sequences, they definitely carried my attention quite a bit throughout it. So, yeah. And then probably my biggest complaint or my biggest criticism about the movie is the depiction of the romance between Parsifal and Artemis.
Artemis, yeah.
Yeah. It just felt kind of a little bit heavy-handed, but also just kind of slapped together. It just felt like, I don't know. I'll talk more about that in spoilers. It didn't connect with me. It kind of felt just kind of thrown in there for really no reason. But other than that, I thought it was a very entertaining movie, very fun, entertaining popcorn movie.
Nice.
And I guess, I mean, I'll still read the book and everything eventually. I'm definitely interested in reading it just because I feel like if the amount of just kind of balls to the wall action and kind of spectacle that we got in the movie, and like the amount of that plus the amount of just Easter eggs and pop culture references and everything that we got in the movie, the sheer amount of that stuff in the movie was satisfying to me, to the extent that I'm very intrigued to read the book, because I know that it's just going to be a ton more stuff in there to kind of eat up.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything that stands out about the movie that you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Spoilers?
I mean, my favorite part of the movie were the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was Industrial Light and Magic on full blast.
Right.
I mean, there's a race scene, a sequence in the movie that is just like, it's one of those things where like you see like one frame and it's like that one frame must have taken 10 hours to create, and there's 50,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like it's one of those things where you see it and it's like you can't even wrap your brain around how difficult it must have been to make that.
Right. That's
how I'll explain it. And it's just stunning. Mm-hmm. There's so many moving parts and the colors jump off the screen and it's this fast-paced chase, and it's just like amongst all that there's so much detail. It's just unbelievable. The visuals, that chase scene really jumped out at me, and there's kind of like a battle scene that has a similar feel to it. The
scale of that.
The scale is just incredible.
Amazing.
And, like I remember back when the special edition DVDs for Lord of the Rings came out, I watched all of it.
Right.
And those were really good DVDs. The special features were fantastic, and there was like detailed specials on the DVDs about like how the people from, I think it was Weta who did the special effect. I don't know if they did like the CGI and stuff, but whoever did the CGI for Lord of the Rings, talking about like the Battle of Helm's Deep and in Lord of the Rings, trying to digitally create 10,000 orcs, and how like that, you know, the process and the details of that, and like it was just incredible. I was like, man, this is really impressive. And like this scene in this movie kind of blows that one out of the water as far as what they achieved with CGI. I think, you know, the Battle of Helm's Deep is unbelievably good, and I'm not trying to take anything away from that. It's a remarkable piece of filmmaking, and I love it. But as far as what they achieved with CGI, like it's just like I can't imagine the amount of effort it took to make that, and like all that effort just pours off the screen in this movie, and it was some of the best probably effects I've seen. Just terrific.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, and the fact that like Spielberg is not a like, I mean, he with movies like Jaws, he created the summer blockbuster. Like he has left such a huge imprint in cinema and everything, and to have him do this movie is kind of amazing, just because in a sheer meta level, I mean, he's creating a movie that's basically a tribute to so much of what his influence, so much of the stuff that he has influenced directly in his career. I know that in the book, I guess there's a lot of Steven Spielberg.
There's a lot of Spielberg,
that he purposely like took out for the movie,
right?
But I mean, the guy is, I mean, he is a seasoned pro when it comes to directing these types of sequences and everything. And like you said, that race scene toward the beginning of the movie is, I mean, just holy crap! What a way to just bring us, like at that point, it's a while, like after we've gotten the plot and everything started, but man, like that is just such an amazing sequence. And kind of to talk in more broad terms, because I definitely want to talk to you in spoilers and more detail about the different the different segments of the movie, I guess you would call them.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the variety of it. Like, from a sheer storytelling perspective, like you go from one, like the way the plot sets itself up is like there are some specific things that need to be done, and each thing that's done is very much different from the last.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just love the variety and the pacing of that. Like, it's a 2.5 hour movie, and just shy of 2.5 hours. And like, it didn't quite, well, at times it did kind of feel, I felt that quite a bit. But in terms of, I didn't feel like there was any retread in terms of any of the spectacle or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and I'm also just amazed that I really just read the trivia now, but I'm amazed at the fact that like Steven Spielberg can do this huge, massive movie, very big budget and everything, and then while he's waiting for ILM to get the special effects done, he goes and shoots the post.
Right.
And just like the dude, I'm just amazed by him.
And he's like 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Has nothing to prove to anybody.
Right.
And makes 2 movies.
Yep.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, dude, save some chicks for the rest of us.
Right. So anyway, let's see. Anything else we can cover in non-spoilers? What do you think of the performances?
The performances, they were fine. Again, I feel like kind of a dick saying it, but there just weren't that many famous people in the movie.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know if it's not necessarily famous, but I'll say like seasoned actors.
Okay.
There weren't that wasn't a good description. Like seasoned actors.
Would I be putting words in your mouth if I said that? Are you like saying that the craft of acting wasn't like at the forefront of the movie?
Yeah, not so much. There's Mark Rylance was great. I loved Mark Rylance. He's a very chameleon-like actor who can really go through some incredible physical and effects on his voice and stuff like that. He's very Gary Oldman-ish in that respect.
He's a very versatile actor.
Something about those English actors who can just dissolve into a character. He's one of those people, and this character is unlike any other character I've seen him play. It's really incredible. So I loved him, but then everyone else, I could just kind of take them or leave them. I mean, they were fine. I don't think it's not a spoiler, but T.J. Miller plays a character. He was also pretty enjoyable. I think he was most of the comic relief in the movie, and he was funny. I enjoyed him as well. But just kind of middle of the road stuff. I think part of it was the writing. Again, trying to cram so much into even just 2.5 hours. That's a long movie, and it's even then trying to cram all that in there is a challenge. And I think a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the chemistry and connectivity between the characters kind of got a little bit lost. And I think it's just kind of the nature of the story as part of it, but also I think maybe a more talented writer or team of writers could have pulled it off a little bit better. Like you mentioned, the whole relationship between Artemis and Parsifal being forced. It really was. In the book, it's not. It's great in the book, and it's very relevant to the story and the culture and the themes that Ernest Cline was trying to communicate to the audience. And it comes across great in the book. It just didn't in the movie. That was lost. So I agree with you. I think it felt a little bit forced and convenient. Yeah,
and that I kind of feel like the weak point of the movie is that they didn't know how to deal with really any of the relationships in the movie. Like in the opening sequence, like when we're having Parsifal kind of narrate the story of like the world for us. And this could be nitpicking, but I think it's indicative of kind of the quality of the writing when it comes to the characterization and the interpersonal relationships in the movie. But like when we get introduced to the character of H, it's like there's probably like 2 or 3 times where Parzival's like, "Oh, he's my best friend. He's my best friend." It's like,
Yeah.
like we get it, dude. Cool it. Like, well, like you're communicating it. Like we get it. It's like he's supposed to be like his closest friend in the game. Like I don't see what the point is of the redundancy of having him repeat that over and over again. It's just like it kind of felt like that is an indicator of kind of how, I wouldn't say sloppy, but kind of low effort the writing was in terms of characterization. Because that you can kind of extrapolate that into the relationship with Artemis and Parzival, where it's just like it's because it's a guy and a girl, and the girl is attractive that and the guy is the hero of the movie. Like it's just assumed that they're going to hook up, or they're going to have a romantic entanglement and everything. And it's just like they didn't lay enough groundwork for why they have a connection in the movie. And that's probably my chief complaint with the movie, is that it just felt like that was just too expected and too not magical for me. Yeah, and let's see. Anything else we can talk about in non-spoilers?
I don't think so. It's kind of with all the licensing and other things, it's kind of hard not to talk about them.
Right. Have you read, is it Armada?
I have not read Armada.
Book?
I'd like to, though.
Or his other book? I don't think it has any connection with Ready Player One. It's just another book that he wrote.
Yeah, eventually I'd like to. I think Will Wheaton reads it.
Nice.
The audiobook's on my Audible, that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So that's our non-spoiler review of Ready Player One. We're going to dive into spoilers here in just a second. I'm going to play a clip from the trailer for Ready Player One, and then when we get back, we are going to be spoilers on. If you want to skip the spoilers, check the show notes and go to the timestamps for when we talk about Potpourri to skip over the spoilers. So, yeah, here's the trailer.
Who is this Parzival, and how the hell is he winning?
Find him. This isn't just a game. I'm talking about actual life and death stuff.
The oasis.
The world's most important economic resource.
And it's nothing less than a war for control of the future.
Welcome to the rebellion, Wade.
And we are spoilers on for Ready Player One. Now, Tiny, the whole Shining sequence.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, man.
Yes.
Is that in the book?
No.
Oh, really?
It is not.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. I think in the book, it's the second key is it's you have to play Pac-Man. You have to beat Pac-Man in a certain way or something like that.
Wow.
I can't remember what it is, something like that. But yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "This is clever. This is clever," and I loved that.
I kind of went like I had just a stupid grin on my face the whole time, it's just like obviously like we host Tower Junkies. We're fans of Stephen King. We're also fans of movies and Kubrick and The Shining, and like my brain exploded just a little bit because like I'm sitting there watching Steven Spielberg recreate Stanley Kubrick's Overlook Hotel from The Shining, knowing that they like were very close friends and everything.
Right.
And also the fact that that's based on a Stephen King property. Like, I'm just like, I was like, holy shit, what is going on right now?
So much greatness.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
I was floored by that. And the way that H, like, I thought that was really clever that H had never seen the movie. So
yeah, that was great.
Like the twins, the blood, the Room 237, which I feel like the movie was kind of like really, really stretching its PG-13 rating.
Yes.
With that, I was surprised at how much they actually showed, and how like well recreated it was. Like it seemed pretty true. Like the one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, and it's just nitpicking, is I feel like the unless I didn't see it correctly, the carpet patterns was a little bit off. Like it's just like the Overlook Hotel, like in The Shining, like that's a very, very iconic design, and it's just like it didn't look like it was a detail that they skimped on. I don't know why, but yeah, just it was that whole sequence was like just so freaking cool.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad that I wasn't spoiled on that. Like I had no idea.
Right. It wasn't in the trailers or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I actually had to go to the bathroom again. That's what happened a lot when I go to the theater. But I went to the bathroom like right before that sequence started.
Nice.
And like when I got back, it was like they were picking the movie that like they were trying to figure out what movie they saw on the first day, and then it said The Shining. I was like, oh my god! Like again, I was just so floored by that whole sequence.
Yes, me too. And just it was clever too. It's not like it was just a straight up reference or Easter egg. Like they cleverly incorporated it into the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of that, you may have missed the line where maybe you heard it, but they said like Halliday kept a detailed record of every movie he ever watched. I was like, yeah, he did.
Exactly. That was the moment that I got back.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't like. What's the big deal? Like,
of course he did. Who does it?
Yeah,
people don't do that.
Everyone does.
Yeah, that jumped out at me. I was like, yeah, this is our kind of story.
Yep, that was awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, that was really cool, and yeah, the way that it like you said, it wasn't like just an Easter egg or it just wasn't a reference for reference sake. Like it was integral to the plot, obviously, and it made sense. Like they had like the clue was involved like a creator who hates his own creation. I love that they incorporated the fact that Stephen King is not a fan of Stanley Kubrick's movie. It's just like, I mean, that's a well-known piece of trivia, but it's just like it's cool that that's part of the movie and part of the story and everything.
Yeah. One of the things that I think kind of dragged down the story and kind of affected my enjoyment was the timeline. So in the movie, the whole movie takes place over like a week, maybe 2 weeks. So like in the book, it's like a year and a half.
Really?
And it's cool because Parzival comes from really, really humble beginnings, and like he has to hide his VR mask and his gloves and stuff. He has to hide it in the junk pile where in the stacks where he lives, and so like he is a very successful avatar in the Oasis, despite the fact that he uses a crappy headset, and his gloves are old and outdated and they suck, and he doesn't have all this coin and all this gear, but he has this deep obsession with finding out who Halliday was, and like he feels that way because not because he wants the fortune or he wants to control the Oasis, but because he loves the Oasis and he loves all of the pop culture and things that Halliday also loved. Like he doesn't love that stuff because it'll make him successful. He loves it for what it is. And that's something that I think was kind of lost in the movie. So like, you know, if you think about like all the time you can put into like a video game, like you play one of the Final Fantasy games, you know, you can log 100 hours on a Final Fantasy game before you beat it. So Parzival did that all day. That's what he did, is he invested himself into games like that, into TV shows, into movies, into games, and all kinds of stuff, all this pop culture, because he loved Halliday and he loved the Oasis, and he wanted to save the Oasis as opposed to, you know, making himself rich or whatever. It's this very noble desire and cause that he has, and he memorizes all this stuff because he wants to save the Oasis, and he likes he likes that universe that was creative. That's where he's his best self, kind of. And throughout the book, he finds that reality is better than the game and stuff like that. Right. And it's and I just feel like all this time he dedicates to it was kind of lost in the movie, I guess. And he eventually, because he has that attitude towards the Oasis, it eventually leads to success for him. And he's the first person to ever find one of the keys, and then it takes off from there. And he uses that success to gain all these accessories and make his avatar even better inside the game. And I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm really doing it justice, but there was just this piece of who Parsifal was as a person that I think was really missing from. He was nowhere near as rounded in the movie as he was in the book.
I can, and I mean, that's kind of the problem with movie adaptations, of course, anyway.
Yeah.
But and like the way that you describe that and everything, I can see that being hinted at in the movie, like the way that he goes in kind of in secret to his little lair to do the gaming and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of that is like I felt like that was communicated somewhat in it, but I could see that obviously in book form it would be much more detailed and in depth as far as characterization goes. Right. So I can see how that would be lost. And like I said, with most of the characterization and everything, like it kind of felt like I wasn't as attached to the character of Parsifal as I would have been if they had put an emphasis on the characterization in the movie overall.
Yeah.
And everything. Not that it was bad or that the movie itself was bad or anything. Just I saw it as more of a spectacle than anything that had any what's the word I'm looking for? Any personal connection that I could have with the characters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the two kind of integral love stories, again, were so much more well-rounded in the book. And I think the timeline is critical to that because, Artemis and Parsifal knew each other for like 6 days in the movie,
right.
And now they're in love.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that either. But
no.
like I said in the book, it's a span of like a year and a half, and like
right.
Parsifal had like this, kind of classic schoolboy crush on her a long time before they ever even met. Which is kind of introduced in the movie, but it's laid out much better in the book, and so it's the boy getting the girl story, definitely. It's cliched, but it's the whole birthmark thing is so much more significant in the book, and there are all these themes about how reality is flawed, but because it's flawed, that makes it better. You know what I'm saying? And there's a bunch of themes about that, and it's your true beauty shows forth in the game because it's all this crap, and it sounds cliched, but Ernest Cline laid it out incredibly well in the book, and so many of those themes were unfortunately absent in that love story. And then of course the one between Halliday and I don't remember the woman's name, like Christina or something, whatever her name was.
Yeah.
It's in the movie. Kira, whatever.
Yeah, I think that was like the Avatar name or something.
Okay. But yeah, like her, Karen in real life was her name. That's right. It's significant in the film. I'm not saying it's not, but it's the way it influences Parsifal and Artemis, and the way that it works itself into the game and into the challenge of finding the keys and the Easter egg is much more satisfying in the book.
I can definitely understand that.
But again, time.
Right, yeah, time
2.5 hours,
yeah.
And I thought the whole Shining thing, where that was the ultimate goal, that's where they flipped it and kind of made it their own with the zombies dancing in the ballroom. That was pretty touching, I think.
Yeah.
I thought that was relatively well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to kind of touch on more about the relationship between Artemis and Parsifal, like, I mean, I kind of rolled my eye. Like, okay, first of all, the kind of romantic subplot with them, like, I don't feel like she was developed enough to reciprocate feelings for him throughout the movie. Like, by the end of the movie, I kind of felt like, well, it seems like she's just kind of in love with him because that's what the plot needs her to be.
Right.
And it's like one of those like action movie or action oriented movies where the circumstances brings them together rather than having an actual emotional connection.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of like Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves in Speed.
Yeah.
And like I like that in Speed 2 Cruise Control. They write out Keanu Reeves by having Sandra Bullock. I think she refers to it as being like, yeah, we just, kind of fell in love because we were in this terrible situation together, and then after it ended, it's just like, all right, well, we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I felt like was present a little bit here, is that's the type of relationship arc in the movie, is that it's more necessitated by the events of the movie bringing them together rather than any connection that they have together.
Right.
Like, kind of on the other hand of that, when he tells her that he loves her, first of all, I kind of rolled my eyes because I was like, come on, buddy, you just met her.
Yeah.
Like, you like, cool it,
Right.
And then on the other hand, it's like, I like that I love her just complete takedown of that. Like saying like, no, you don't love me. You don't know me. You love this artificial creation of me, and kind of does the classic, like, you love the idea of me. Right. Kind of thing. And I like that was at least incorporated into the plot, where that was a thing that was, it wasn't like a simple love story with them. It was more like there was pushback on that. But like, for as interesting as that element of the story was for them or for me, it didn't have much follow through toward the end. It was just more of a standard romantic subplot in the movie. Yeah. And yeah, so the car race was really cool. That battle sequence at the end, holy crap.
Man, that was awesome.
Like, man, just so cool. Yeah. And I loved all the references and stuff. Like, yes. I just loved all there were the Spartans from Halo. Also, to kind of go back before we go into talking about that and everything, the Zemeckis cube. Yeah. I thought that was really clever. That was really cool. Because obviously I love Back to the Future, and I loved seeing the DeLorean in the movie so much.
Absolutely.
Very cool stuff. Yeah. What were aside from The Shining, what was one of your favorite Easter eggs and references? There's
speaking of the Zemeckis cube, there was in H's lair or shop or wherever, where they're kind of hanging out at one point. Mm-hmm. There's a dang, what's his name? The black busboy from Back to the Future who becomes the mayor.
Oh, Goldie Wilson, yeah.
There's a Goldie Wilson for mayor poster just hanging up.
Yeah, that's right.
And I saw that. I was like, oh,
that was cool. I forgot about that. That was a cool little Easter egg.
During the big battle at the end, I think it's Shaito or no,
Sho?
Yeah, either Sho or Haito. Daito. Yeah. Japan. Has the any monster you want for 2 minutes thing. Mm-hmm. And I know that the character, the monster, quote unquote, he turned into mm-hmm. was a reference of something. I don't know that reference. Right. I think it was a Japanese property, maybe a video game or something. I don't know at all.
I want to say I know what the title is, but I don't want to make an ass of myself.
But what I loved is he flew in on Serenity from Firefly.
I thought that I caught that, and wow,
it was awesome.
Crap! I completely forgot that I noticed that. It was one of those things where it was kind of a blink and you miss it thing, and like I saw it and I was like, "Is that Serenity?" Oh, that was making Godzilla. Right. Then just left from my mind. That is amazing. Yes.
And then there's one reference I wanted to bring up was Chucky. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was fun. It was great. But like, I know that it's Chucky comes in and then there's this line and it's like the one F-bomb you get for a PG-13 movie. And it's like, I understand that you can have one in a PG-13 movie, but do you have to have one? You don't have to put an F-bomb in the movie. And this is like one of the most egregious examples, I think, of throwing an F-bomb in a movie just because you can. I just think it added absolutely nothing to this movie, and it kind of ruined the line, I think, because I mean there were a lot of kids actually in the theater that I was at, and I was like, I'm not like super sensitive to that. I curse around children a lot, around my nieces more than I should.
That's awesome.
It is.
I love that we now have that recorded. I curse around children a lot.
I do. Yeah, it's one of my downfalls. No, but like I'm not, super weary of it. Like, oh, I'm going to ruin this kid because I said fuck around it. Like, no, I don't think that. But it's just an awkward situation, and like there are plenty of scenarios where an F-bomb is a good thing, and I appreciate good cursing, or cursing used for a proper effect in a given dynamic. And this one I just think it was dumb. There's like no other cursing in the movie. There's no like assholes or shits or it was just so out of place, and I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I got a kick out of the line. I did. I enjoyed it just because it wasn't expected, and it was I don't know. It was fun. It was
the situation was funny, and I liked the Chucky thing. I thought it was great.
Yeah, but now that we're talking about it, and I'm thinking more about it, I wouldn't be surprised if when I go back and watch it, it will it'll kind of have a negative effect for me.
Yeah.
And like you said about, you get one F word in a PG-13 movie and stuff. And like, that reminds me of like The Social Network. There's a line where one of the Winklevosses, one of the Winklevi, say, let's get the freaking nerd.
Yeah.
But they clearly like overdubbed the word freaking over him saying fucking.
Right.
And I think it's specifically because later in the movie, when Eduardo Saverin is kind of yelling at him, Mark Zuckerberg, he's like, in your fuck you flip-flops.
Yeah.
And it's like they had to use that. And like you get one F word in a PG-13 movie, and like that was theirs. And, but it didn't detract from the movie, because like that is tonally appropriate.
Right.
Like, it's like the movie is it fits the movie and everything. When you have like a movie that has a bunch of video game characters having like this fun adventure action Willy Wonka-esque story.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you get a Chucky doll, and then someone saying it's fucking Chucky.
Right.
It kind of, I don't know, I could see it leaving a sour taste in people's minds.
Yeah. That's how I reacted to it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's see. What else is there to talk about this movie? So I noticed that the character Finale, who is an alum of Black Mirror, the actress Hannah John Kamen, she was actually in 2 episodes of Black Mirror. She was in 15 Million Merits as the singer that was she's kind of just in the background. Her name is Selma Telsey. She is she's kind of the celebrity and everything, and then she also appeared in I think it was what was it? Ironically, Playtest.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, what did you think of that character? Because she's kind of like we didn't talk about Ben Mendelsohn.
No, not really.
Yeah. So first, what did you think of her character as kind of the enforcer of his group, and what did you think of the villain character?
She was kind of shoehorned into the movie, I think, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if her character was in the book.
According to trivia, no.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, very much an unnecessary character, I think. I don't know if... I think it's because, like, in the real world, like, Sorrento, is that his name? Ben Mendelsohn's character is not very physical. He's just very, like, you know, he's a businessman. He's a suit. He's not an action.
Right.
He doesn't take action, so he has to have a henchman. And so that's where she comes in. And so she's just very shoehorned into the movie, I think. You know, because in the Oasis, Sorrento has a pretty menacing avatar, and like he takes action. He does the Mecha Godzilla thing at the end, and that's awesome. So I think she was just kind of shoehorned in the movie. I didn't have much thought about her character.
Yeah, I was surprised to find out that she wasn't in the book, because she kind of strikes me as a character that she's just in the movie, and it kind of seems like there should be a little bit more to the character. Like, I got the impression that she was a character from the books that they didn't have enough time to develop in the movie. And it's just surprising that she just wasn't in the book at all. Like, it's
kind of odd.
Like, what's the point of having that? But, so what did you think of Ben Mendelsohn? And is it just me, or did it seem like they kind of de-aged him a little bit?
Yeah, he did seem a little bit younger at heart. I don't know.
Yeah, like his face seemed a little less wrinkly.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe it's because, you know, in like the show Bloodline, he's like depicted as like he's kind of a rough around the edges character.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, he was much more clean cut in this, and it was a little out of turn for him, or what we've seen him in. I guess not, because in Rogue One and in Dark Knight Rises, he's kind of a, you know, I don't know, villainous, but also kind of clean cut.
Yeah,
you know, he's like wearing a suit the whole time, and I don't know, a military officer in Rogue One. So,
well, you know, he was also
Place Beyond the Pines. He was kind of kind of hillbilly-ish, I guess, or
that's right,
white trashy sort of, if you will. But anyways,
he was definitely choking on his aspirations, though.
Yeah, nice.
Rogue One, anyway,
very good. Darth Vader pun. Yeah. But yeah, Ben Mendelsohn's always enjoyable. I think his character was also a little one-dimensional, not that interesting, really. I do think he had some characteristics that were unique and kind of stood out, like the fact that he's just not into this whole pop culture praise thing, and he, you know, he's only in it for the glory and the financial success and all that stuff. I think that was unique to the story, because everyone else is the opposite. So he stands out for that reason. But Ben Mendelsohn's always enjoyable. He is just kind of a one-dimensional character, not super interesting, but necessary. You gotta have your villain. You know, if there's no IOI for the rest of the world to go up against in the Oasis, I think it makes it a little less interesting. You know, you kind of need the bad guy there.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. Like, as a character, Ben Mendelsohn's character wasn't like he was. I would equate him with like one of the lesser like Marvel villains. Like he's just there to kind of propel the plot and propel the heroes into doing their hero thing.
Right.
But the idea of IOI existing and like the whole idea of, or the motivation of the character and of the company to compete and get control of the Oasis, that I found really intriguing and very, very interesting. So even though the character himself wasn't that interesting or three-dimensional, I thought that the actual purpose behind the character and behind the organization was made up for the shortcomings of the character for me.
Totally. It is a fascinating aspect of the story that like an entire multi-million or probably multi-billion-dollar company springs up with the intent of taking over another company. Like, that's their whole goal.
Yeah.
Is to just take over another company, and that's what they work towards. It's kind of fascinating. The whole story itself is just very fascinating, but that's a very interesting aspect of the story that, that's how weird the economy is in 2045.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, so IMDb, obviously they have their trivia section and everything. That's mostly, I believe it's all like user input stuff. And like sometimes it has just really stupid, like really loose connections that are made for trivia.
Yeah.
And I read one that was Ty Sheridan spends a considerable amount of time in this movie with a visor on his face. He appeared as Cyclops in X-Men Apocalypse. It's like, oh my god, that's not interesting at all. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah. So I just stuff like that. It's funny. But yeah, let's see. Is there anything else we're forgetting? Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg,
with an American accent.
Totes.
Kind of weird, but I dug it. And I kind of felt like the ending with them in the van, and there was a few like not false endings, but it was just like interruptions of their making out and stuff. I felt like that was like, it reminded me a little bit of like Return of the King, where you get a bunch of false endings,
right?
But on a very smaller scale. How'd you feel about the ending of the story and how it wrapped up?
Yeah, the whole part in the van was a little like they were trying a little too hard, I think, to make that funny.
Came across clunky.
It was very clunky, absolutely. So I don't think that really worked all that well.
Right.
But it's I like the togetherness of it, the fact that they split the ownership of the company 5 ways and stuff like that, and they close it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I can't remember if that's in the book or not, to be frank. But yeah, like that's all relatively touching, and it's a nice happy ending.
Yeah, I liked how it was resolved and everything. And I did like the incorporation of it, being closed Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was cool.
Right.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, it was very good. Will it make your top 10?
No.
Oh,
It may. I was gonna say it might be an honorable mention, but honestly, I don't think it will.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Will you want to buy it on Blu-ray?
I don't. I definitely want to see it again. I don't know if I'll buy it though. I don't know if it's gonna make my collection. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see myself buying it digitally.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was entertaining enough that I would want to see it again. If only for the Shining sequence. Because that was just really cool. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. It makes me want to check out the book. Even with its shortcomings, I was still very much entertained by it, and just the sheer spectacle of it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'd give it like 3 out of 5 stars.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I gave it 3.5.
Okay.
Plus a like.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that's our review of Ready Player One. Let us know what you thought of the movie. You can tweet us at ObsessiveViewer, at ObsessiveTiny, or, go to the Facebook group at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer and, join the group and join the discussion, as lame as it sounds. Also, become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer. And we are going to wrap up this episode with a potpourri section, which Potpourri is the section of the podcast where we talk about anything we've watched lately, looking forward to, anything we want, as long as it smells good. And before I get us kicked off and everything, I do want to mention that our Patreon subscriber, Robert, sent me an email saying that since we've been kind of lacking with releasing episodes recently, he went back and is listening to the podcast from the beginning.
Oh, poor guy.
I know. Like I said... a couple things. One,
there goes our Patreon subscriber.
Right? I was like, oh god, those are the cringe years of the podcast.
Yeah.
But it was funny because he did say one thing that made me laugh, because I know I've mentioned it before, but in my job, I work in a call center, and I mean, sometimes people confuse it doesn't happen that often anymore, but like, there's a string of time where people were like they would call me ma'am because for some reason they would think that I sounded like a woman.
Yeah.
They would forget that they were talking to a man. But it's funny because Robert said that he was listening to some of the older episodes, and he said, let's see, it's interesting here from start. Listen, your voice sounded a little deeper back then than it does now. It's funny because, I explained to him that I think part of that was because I was living with my parents, my sister, her kids, 3 dogs in a very small place, and that's like a petri dish of germs. So I constantly had like a sore throat and stuffed up nose and stuff.
Right.
And also I think there was a significant black mold problem there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because like after I moved here, it's like, oh, I'm all good.
Right.
I just am lazy. But anyway, so thank you, Robert, for listening to the episodes. But he did also send, I didn't actually get a chance to read this yet. He sent an email. I'm just going to go ahead and read this. Let's see. Hang on, let me find it. Sorry. Where is it? Oh, here we go. He said, okay, so this is actually the first time I'm reading this because I saw it and I had to get to work. So, he was referencing one of our early episodes, like episode 5, when we had our first contest. Do you remember that, Tiny?
Oh God, I don't.
Yeah, our memorable theater experiences contest.
Oh yeah, didn't Pat win it?
Pat won, yeah, because he was like one of the only people that was listening to the podcast.
Right.
So why did we do a contest?
I don't know.
We just this was a month after we started the freaking thing. Good God.
We were so young.
Yep. So anyway, Robert said, is it too late to enter the memorable theater experiences contest? He said, I wish I found your podcast at the start of it. Better late than never. I thought I would still share some of my memorable theater viewings. And so I'll go ahead and read what he put. Like Tiny, I remember my dad taking me to see Lion King, and it blew my mind. Also gave me a fear of losing my dad because I was like 4 or 5. Still one of my favorite movies. Like you, I remember my dad also taking me to Jurassic Park, and that also blew my mind. Also, my dad fell asleep halfway for a little bit somehow. I remember him taking me to Space Jam because I was a huge MJ fan. Great time. Another one is my mom's surprise taking us to Men in Black. Never heard of it, so saw it blind. That's awesome. Nice. Really enjoyed that movie. Last one, because I can go on forever probably. I remember my brother, best friend, and I went to a midnight showing of Inception in IMAX, first IMAX movie he'd seen.
Wow.
Mind Grenade. Definitely one of my favorite movies. Sorry you had to deal with dumb kids during that movie.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was terrible.
Yeah.
For bad experiences, mostly every time a baby is forcefully brought by their parents. The most notable was during The Force Awakens. Oh, my God.
No way.
Yeah. Oh. And he said, thank God it was a rewatch because it was during... I won't say this because it's a spoiler, even though everyone's seen it, but during a specific scene in The Force Awakens.
Okay.
A baby started crying. Someone in the row in front of me turned and said, Jesus, you couldn't have found a babysitter. The father got up and took the baby out, and the mother leaned in and whispered something about all I heard was the guy yell, "Get the fuck out of my face." Wow.
Damn.
Some guys had to defuse the situation. I wouldn't have done what the guy did, but I totally felt his frustration. If I didn't have a babysitter, then I'm not going, period. Plus, I don't think the loud noises are good for an infant. That's exactly what I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I get, you like, going to the movies and stuff, and maybe you need a night out. But also, like, Redbox.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's I don't understand that, but I'm not a parent, so I don't know.
Right.
So thank you, Robert, for suffering through our older episodes, and definitely keep the emails coming because I love hearing from you. And let's see. So to go into Potpourri, I'm going to bring up one thing, or I'm going to bring up two things. You're going to bring up one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to get this kicked off. Tiny.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't get to see Ready Player One with you and Matt was because I had plans to see A Quiet Place.
Right.
And as much as I love hanging out with you and Matt and Draco, A Quiet Place was so freaking good.
Nice.
For those who don't know, A Quiet Place is John Krasinski's movie where he directed it, stars in it, co-wrote it, and stars in it with his wife, Emily Blunt, and some kids. And it is a horror movie set during kind of a post-apocalyptic kind of setting where the world has been decimated by these creatures that find you based on sound. So you cannot make any noise. And holy shit. First of all, this movie is so immersive because it relies on, obviously, like, the entire movie is like it is a vacuum of silence until something happens which causes mayhem to break out. So the absence of noise draws you in so deep into the movie that when shit happens, like, shit happens, and you are like so hooked on it. And one of the most fascinating things is that I would recommend, like, I had been talking to Draco after I saw the movie. We were kind of talking about A Quiet Place and about Ready Player One and everything, and he said that he wanted to see A Quiet Place, but he said that he's probably going to wait for to watch it at home because they have a kid and everything.
Right.
So, like I said, like if you can swing the logistics, I would recommend seeing it in a theater.
Nice.
And I would recommend seeing it to, I would recommend to everyone that can see it in a theater that's like a packed house because it is so interesting and a little bit unsettling to see the movie with like a theater filled with people, but like obviously everyone loves when a theater full of people is dead silent. But to have them be so dead silent while the screen and the movie is actually silent as well is like, that just really brings you into the movie.
Yeah.
And I said this on Letterboxd, but like the way that the movie utilizes sound and utilizes the vacuum of sound in some very interesting ways. Like one of the child actors is she's deaf in the movie, and I believe that they actually cast an actual deaf child.
Wow.
Yeah, but the way that there's something that they do, a technique that they do for the sound in the movie that is very much like just really, really immersive for you, for the audience. And I said this on Letterboxd, but this movie, A Quiet Place, is like, I was more wrapped up into the movie. Like the way that the movie utilizes silence and its own little vacuum is more immersive than any like IMAX 3D movie that I would have, any overpriced 3D movie ticket I would have bought.
Wow.
Just very cool, very inventive. The plot is very clever, and just it's so suspenseful and so damn good.
Nice.
Yeah.
That makes me want to see it really bad.
I highly recommend it.
Nice.
If you want to, I mean, I would go see it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just throwing it out there, Tiny.
Yeah.
Since I didn't get to go see Ready Player One with you, I can
totally.
and go see A Quiet Place.
That intrigues me though, because I think of moments in or like movies that I love where the absence of sound is much, or like the absence of dialogue is so much more superior to any superfluous thing you could have your character say, or unnecessary music. Just let the scene speak for, like, I think of like No Country for Old Men.
Oh yeah.
Like almost no music in that movie. And the intense action is bracketed so well by the lack of ridiculous dialogue or one-liners or anything like that. So that I can understand what you're saying, where how the sound or lack thereof can be so critical.
Kind of, and kind of like Mother.
Mother, yeah,
Aronofsky's movie.
Another good example of that, yeah.
So that's A Quiet Place. Definitely check it out. It's so good. Like,
nice.
I love that we're getting these. like last year, I mean, it's an easy comparison to make, but like last year we got Get Out, which was a phenomenal movie, and then now we've got another horror movie directed by someone who's known for his comedic acting.
Right.
That is a success and just really well done.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my first potpourri. Tiny, what do you have for us?
I wanted to talk about Murder on the Orient Express.
Murder.
The remake from 2017. The movie wasn't on my radar that much. I've never seen the original. And is it based on a book?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's based on Agatha
That's
Christie's
right, Agatha
novel.
Christie's novel.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
one of her Horatio Poirot.
Hercule Poirot.
Hercule Poirot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's French Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
That's what he is. I mean, it's
Right.
very much a Sherlock Holmes story. Not to say it's not good.
Okay.
So this was I have no reference for the original, but this was a cool remake.
Nice.
Very visually impressive. I loved all the, I think they filmed, either they got a train and filmed on a train, or they recreated a train, and they recreated it really well. The sets were impressive.
Nice.
Great costume and makeup work. All that was very visually impressive. But what stood out the most to me in the movie was the performances. Most notably, I loved Willem Dafoe. Judi Dench is just magnetic. And I'm really happy to say Daisy Ridley could not take my eyes off her.
Nice.
Terrific performance.
Very nice.
Josh Gad, who had such a fun start to his career where he played all these goofy comedic roles, and now he's getting these really meaty dramatic roles, and he's nailing and just knocking it out of the park.
Nice.
Just incredible performances. I always love Johnny Depp. Kenneth Branagh is, I heard him on NPR once, and he's a super intelligent guy who's just committed to like the classics. I think he runs a theater or something like that, or he's the head of some kind of theater company, and he's always like talking about Shakespeare and all this stuff, and like, involved in all these productions just 24/7. The guy, like, it feels like he never stops. But I don't know a lot about him, but anytime I see him in like anything, I feel like he's one of those people where he could enter a crowded room and everybody would just shut up and look at him. Yeah. Cause he just has like, he's like a commanding presence, and the guy just like feels like a legend, like one of those people, like Robert De Niro. It's like he just shut up and let him do his thing. Like, how do you direct Robert De Niro? Right. Like, how do you direct Kenneth Branagh? And you don't. He directs himself. He directed this movie. I mean, the guy's, he just has that presence to him, and that's on full display. He's perfect for a Poirot type character, who's almost, he's in every scene and he's the central character. It's perfect for a guy like Kenneth Branagh.
How'd you feel about the mystery of it? Like, is it an engaging mystery?
It really is, and I'm not very good at predicting what's going to happen in movies. I'm really not good at that. You'd think I'd be better at it, given that I'm a movie buff and stuff. But I'm just not good at it. And I had no clue whatsoever what was going to happen in this movie. I was like, I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea who killed this guy. I'm as much along for the ride as everyone else is.
Nice.
And it's a very unique story. The way everything turned out, I was like, wow, that's an incredible idea for a story. It's very ahead of its time. I liked it. I thought it was a great movie. Again, the original could be way better. The Agatha Christie's book might be way better. I have no idea, but this was fun. I enjoyed this. I don't think I don't know that this was necessarily just some asshole producer somewhere like, oh, let's take a classic and remake it and get some money in our pockets. Like, I don't think it was, I don't think that was necessarily the motivation here. I think someone, possibly Kenneth Branagh, just had, a different vision and their own take on this classic story and wanted to express it. And that's how this movie got made.
Okay.
And I liked it. I thought it was really fun.
Thanks.
And again, there's just so many just classic titans of the acting industry: Judi Dench and Johnny Depp and Willem Dafoe, Kenneth Branagh, and they're all just at the top of their game. And some young faces that we're not too familiar with, like Daisy Ridley and Josh Gad, who completely kept up with these people and really impressed me personally. I'm glad to say that I can look forward to whatever Josh Gad and Daisy Ridley do in the future, because they were both fantastic. Yeah, great performances, cool story, beautiful movie, just
nice,
incredible setting. Setting a whole story on a train. It's just a cool idea. I really liked it. I liked it a lot.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out. And I just thought of another thing that I want to bring up for Potpourri. So this will be very brief, and then I'll go into my last Potpourri, and then we'll call it a night.
Okay.
So really quickly, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I've been watching a lot of ER.
To ER is human.
Yeah, to ER is human.
God, I wish that could be a thing.
I know. God damn it. Anyway, so I've mentioned, I think that I may have mentioned it at some point in the podcast. I think maybe when we did a Halloween on TV episode, or I don't know if we did that. I think at some point I referenced this episode of ER, like way in the past. It's the one episode of ER that I connect with ER. Like, my nostalgia of it is like, oh, I remember this one thing. So in like February of 2000, they aired an episode, or I think it might have been 2001. They aired an episode where, spoiler alert for something that's like 17 years old, but there's an episode where at the end of the episode, Dr. Carter gets stabbed, and then he collapses and sees his med student bleeding out on the other side of the room, because this deranged schizophrenic character, stabbed them.
Okay.
I remember so vividly that night seeing that episode, like watching it while my parents were watching it, and just being kind of not necessarily traumatized by it, but just like blown away by it, because I did not expect it to happen. I was just shocked. And like, I remember vividly, like the next day, going to school, like, actually, yeah, me and my brother were going to school, and like, we were talking about it, with it doesn't matter the name, but one of his classmates was driving us to school. Anyway, so we were talking about it, and like, I remember like thinking like, this is like a huge event in the show, and it was. And it's funny because I haven't seen that episode since 2001. It's been 17 years. And it's funny because I didn't know when it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen during season 6, but going through the episodes, each episode, like, I was like, is this the Stabby episode? And then, like, it kind of came together in a way that I was like, oh, this is the Stabby episode. Like, I remembered, like, little elements of it. But that final moment, the final moment of the episode where Carter gets stabbed and like, the moment that not traumatized me, but stuck with me, the one ER moment that stuck with me for 17 years is so dated and
really,
like, it's super late 90s that haven't caught up to the millennium yet.
Okay.
Like that depiction, and it's like, clearly, like, you can't show as much violence on network TV at that time. So like, not that it was poorly executed or bad. Like, for its time, like, it was a monumental moment and it was effective. But like, watching it now in the era of premium cable TV shows, even like basic cable shows and stuff, like shows that are not restricted by network TV. It's like, it's not funny, but it's like, it's kind of like, wow, this is so dated now. The kind of, and it's silly because it's like, they're trying to show like they're trying to kind of get the atmosphere going for you. It kind of reminds me of the way that certain like slasher movies in the 90s, like teen slasher movies, like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream, how they had it. Like there would be scenes in those types of movies where characters would be attacked or murdered, like when characters are nearby but can't hear them because there's some convoluted reason for music to be playing really loud or something to drown it out.
Okay.
So in this scene, I'll go ahead and break it down a little bit real quick. Carter walks into an exam room with the lights off and everything. I'll back up. It's set during Valentine's Day, and the entire ER at the like administrative desk and everything is having. Tell me if you've ever heard of this. Having a very what's the word I'm looking for? Like causing a ruckus with a huge Valentine's Day party, in which they got a cake shaped like a heart for everyone, but they couldn't find the knife in the lounge because the guy took the knife.
Okay.
But so they're playing music very loud in an ER. Because they're slow, and it's just like the reason that they have to have the music loud is so that no one can hear him,
Right.
get stabbed. It's just, it was very convoluted. It's like, why? Like, there's no
a strange
reason.
confluence of events.
Exactly. It was just so bizarre, and the music is like kind of generic, like late 90s, early 2000s, like loud, nondescript. I don't want to say techno music, but like kind of like party music that I'm sure was like, I don't know what song it was exactly, but it kind of felt like a kind of a cheap way for them to just get music in the episode without paying royalty, like royalty-free music. It was very kind of humorous to me because it's like now it's 2018, like they can do better stuff now.
Yeah.
But it just kind of came across as kind of silly. But yeah. So anyway, having said all that, I'm midway through season 6. And I mean, like I have thought that I might just kind of punch out of the show after season 8 when one of the doctors dies. But I mean, I don't know I don't know how much more I'll watch of it.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a brief but ended up going longer potpourri. But last thing to round us out is that I've been watching Everything Sucks on Netflix, which was just canceled by Netflix after one season. Are you familiar with this show?
Not at all.
Okay, so Everything Sucks is a teen dramedy depicting a group of freshmen in high school in the 90s in the town of Boring, Oregon. And how they are like the AV kids, and how they kind of are not at war, but they conflict with the drama department of the high school.
Okay.
And so like that premise kind of seems like it's like, oh, Freaks and Geeks type of show, which there's some comparisons that have been drawn to Freaks and Geeks, but Freaks and Geeks is much better, obviously.
Okay.
Everything Sucks it takes a few episodes to get into it. It is kind of a little bit like try hard at trying to be like funny or trying to be trying to be poignant a little bit.
Okay.
That, and then yeah, like that's kind of bothersome or kind of not that great. Also, some of the kid actors are not good. There's this one kid that's like super like spazzy and weird, and like at least in the first episode, like every scene he's in, I'm just like, I kind of want to punch this kid in the face because it's like his acting is like he's just kind of he's like on the cusp of just breaking character and laughing.
Okay,
and it's just it's weird. But anyway, he gets a little bit better. But anyway. The shining moment of the episode, the shining thing about the episode, is the depiction of the character Luke, who I don't know who plays him, but he's really good. Luke and I think Katie is her name. They're two characters who he kind of falls for her. They're both freshmen, and she is discovering that she is not attracted to men.
Okay.
So there's this dynamic is like handled so really well, and very the way the dynamic plays out and the way that the characters interact with each other is so true to how that is, or true to how it is for like freshmen or like for teenagers to be kind of exploring their feelings and everything. Like, he kind of falls head over heels for her, and like he does like all the things that like a 14-year-old kid would do when he thinks he's in love with a girl that he just met.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just feels kind of real, like kind of realistic and kind of raw. And then there's a whole subplot with his mom and the principal, which is her dad. But that's has its charms as well. So I'm kind of, I still have a few episodes left, but, I'm kind of bummed that it didn't get renewed, but, yeah, at least the first season so far is pretty good. Another kind of standout about it is that there is an abundance of 90s music played throughout it, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Like, there's one moment in like episode 2 or 3, that involves, the iconic song by Oasis, Wonderwall.
Classic.
Yes, and the way that it's incorporated into the show is really like, you'll either love the show or if you're not into this moment, you'll it's just not for you. But anyway, so that's Everything Sucks. It's on Netflix. Watch the first season because there's not going to be any more. Yep. So yeah, I think that'll about do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Next week, Tiny, we talked about doing the Patreon episode, reviewing Robert's next pick for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he threw an audible at me. We were having a conversation, and we were gonna do The Devil's Backbone. Remember?
Okay. Yeah.
But he, and I don't know if you've seen this, I actually think you might have seen it. He wants us to review Tron Legacy.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm game.
Yeah, so that's what we'll be doing next week.
Okay.
We'll be reviewing Tron Legacy for Robert, and if you want us to review stuff for you, pay us. Yeah, anyway. All right, well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP, Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes, and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!